Slinging seeds, sliding on into home, throwing heat, buddy, we're going, gone. If you gotta go down, you gotta go down, swinging, slinging seeds. It's America's favorite pastime. Come on, let's have a good time, slinging seeds. Yeah, we're just slinging seeds.
Well, I think this week is a really important week. We're starting off today with Veterans Day. Of course, we release on Thursday, but today's Veterans Day, so I just wanted to give thanks to those who served. And if we could, just go ahead and maybe a couple, seconds of silence. Thank you. Today we have Zade Richardson. It's a special guest for us. I was talking to Doug about it when we started to put the podcast together. I was really excited about having you on as a guest. Doug, would you go ahead and introduce our special guest today?
I've known Zade for a little bit now. I mean, I remember him as a player because I'm old. But probably the first guy I reached out to when we decided to do the podcast was Zade. He said, "Hey, bud, were you willing to do this?" And just because my best way to describe Zade is, and I've said this to people who have asked me about what to expect from this podcast because we got such a good feedback on the first one, was, what's Zade like? And it's basically like a 5-hour energy drink in 12 seconds, right? So it's just when Zade shows up, everything gets more energized. I'm ready to go. I told one of my players last week, I said, when Zade shows up, I'm ready to run through the wall. It's instant energy, instant motivation. Him and I have had a couple conversations about my weight and how big I got, and I've lost 30 and still a long way to go. Obviously, my goal is to get under 240 before high school tryouts on February 24th, so that's what I'm working toward.
I believe you're going to get it too.
Yeah,
I believe you are. I swear.
His mindset stuff's unbelievable. But obviously, Zade went to New Richmond High School, decided to go to Wabash, was a Super 60 guy for PBR. You know what I mean? So, that's crucial for him. And, I'm getting drafted by the Cardinals, and then he's went on to have a really good professional career. I know he played for the Florence Yaws this year, hit 303. I think he had, 11 bombs?
11 jacks.
Yeah, so he had a great
Batter of the year.
Batter of the year, baby.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Was it bomb player batter?
So, batter of the year for the Yaws and all that. So I just want to get into it, Zade, and I want to thank you for coming on.
I want to thank you guys for having me. I think it's a blessing also to have the relationships I have with you guys, and again, I'm just blessed to be up here and thankful for it. You guys do a very good job in the community of getting people together and also getting people better at the end of the day, right? So, and you guys lead by example. Your actions, you guys understand your guys' actions are what people are going to pay attention to, and I can't help but respect that. And that's, again, why I'm up here and why we do what we do together, right? So, thank you guys for having me up here. This is fun stuff. It's going to be really fun.
It's a pleasure, man.
Yeah, so where I want to start is, in high school, you were a pretty high in prospect. I think it's the fairest way to say. I think you popped a 184 when you were in high school, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And you got invited to the Super 60, which was obviously one of the biggest events you can get invited to. So going back to that process, if you can get your mind there with high school kids, because we have a ton of high school kids who watch this. Why Wabash? Why did you go there? Why did you not take bigger offers? What went through that decision when you were making that decision?
So school was one of those things for me growing up where if I wanted to be good at it, I would be good at it, but I never, and this is, again, not for everybody, right? But I didn't see a whole lot of crazy value in it for me, right? There was a lot of really good things. I think there's a lot of good traits and a lot of good things, but for me, for instance, I remember my freshman year, I think I had a 3.5 GPA. It was pretty decently good, whatever, right? It was pretty good. And I remember after that, I didn't make the varsity freshman, and I live in a small town. New Richmond's not anything big. It's just JV and varsity, right? So you're in a country school town. I never played any other sports, so for me, that's what I wanted. Obviously that's what I wanted to do. I expected to be a varsity guy as a freshman. So when that didn't happen, I ended up being JV, and I had two of my friends, Lane Flam, really good pitcher, and then Brett Benzinger as well, who also made it. They both super deserving. I didn't make it. I felt like that third guy out of the wheel that didn't, and it was you know what, it's so funny. I talk to my mom all the time because she was really good at doing like 50 different things. And I'm like one of those guys that like, I'm really good at doing one thing that'll produce a lot of things. So I knew that if I like hyper-focused, which might have been the start of me hyper-focusing on one thing, you know, I remember it was like, man, I talk crap all the time about wanting to be a D1 athlete or wanting to be a professional athlete, you know, which I never even, you know, you dream about, but it's not happening. So when it didn't happen, it was like, oh, you didn't make varsity freshman year. Well, now I got 3 years left. What am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got 3 years left, so, you know, it's either dial it in and start figuring out what's more important or whatever. And to me, it wasn't necessarily, in my head, it wasn't like, oh, I got to do good at school because I need to be ready for a D1. It was like, no, I need to get really good at baseball because I didn't even make the varsity, you know, freshman, whatever team basically.
Yeah.
And I got to get good at baseball before I can even get good at getting my whatever, right? So it kind of led into that. I got really obsessed on that end of things. I mean, I grew up in a country school. I live out in the country. I even still live out in the country, so I didn't have neighbors. I'm very much imaginative, and you know, a lot of time, like I was just very good at putting my time into one thing, and when I did, I got obsessed with it. It was something that was very enjoyable for me, and there was a lot of anxiety, bro. There's a lot of like fear. I think people think that like just because I am the way I am, that doesn't come up, and it's like, no, I feel it. I just know what the right answer is, and I fearlessly go into it, even though it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what happens is when you do that, on the other end of things, beautiful stuff happens more than what you actually imagine. So what you actually imagine is it's better on the other end of it.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what God, the universe does. It kind of, you know, you have this picture in your head and it kind of ends up being better. But early years, man, I was one track focused on one thing. Like I didn't really talk to a whole bunch of girls or anything like that. I was hyper focused, but I didn't have to be motivated. I've really wanted, like when I wanted something at a young age, I wanted it, and I was going to find ways, environment, anything, because I knew that environment was powerful. So I made sure if I didn't have the environment, I made sure I created my own environment. I think that's another thing people need to be comfortable with, is being by themselves. My whole life I've been by myself, and I've been cool with it. Now I like people. I like being around people. I'm very much a people person, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
No doubt.
as you know.
Yeah.
But if you don't feel comfortable being by yourself, and there's been points in my life where it has happened, you don't tend to attract. It's very resisting to the universe, so you don't tend to attract opportunities and the people that you kind of want. So I've had to make adjustments, like everybody else in this world, as human beings. And as I've made the adjustments and as I've become more aware, I've had a lot of cool success things happening, and they're still going up. So.
You think that maybe with the way that you were raised kind of helped you have that hyper focus? Like, can you kind of tell us a little bit about your upbringing and everything like that?
Yeah, so my mom is an incredibly hardworking woman. She's a single mom. Unfortunately, my pops wasn't there early on. I would visit him in prison when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. So it was, we didn't have money growing up. That was another thing. We didn't have hardly anything at all. So I think the reason why everything kind of happened the way it did was there was just a lot of struggle at an early age, and there still always has been to a sense, but we're overcoming it now, of course.
Right.
And I think it was just another reason for me to do it. Pops, that's the earliest age I remember, is going to prison to visit him. He came back, my life later, and then he's not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? So there's just a bunch of stuff that became kind of the cornerstone and the unlimited energy of me being able to produce what I've been able to produce. But all I really needed was my mom and my grandma, and then my stepdad. Now I had 3 people in my life, and I still have them, thankfully, thanks to God. That all I needed was hardworking people with no money, because they taught me how to work, and they taught me how to believe. I think most importantly, my mom never shot down my dreams at a young age. I think that's another thing too. I think people are so worried about being realistic, and I get it. There's a point, there's a time for that, but at the same time, if you cut that down, people are like, you have to believe, bro. I mean, I really had to believe this was going to happen. I almost it was like, you know how they say you have to roll the dice and it has to be a
yeah,
6?
it has to be 6.
I don't think people understand. I have to roll this.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah, no, I
And when you do
completely
that
get
and you put your head in that vibration, most people don't do that. They don't believe in themselves enough to do that, and which is the reason why things kind of happen. But my upbringing was, I'm thankful. I'm grateful.
Right.
I mean, this is the cards I was dealt. They did wonderfully. They did what they knew how to do to raise me, and all I needed was hardworking people in my corner, my mom, my grandma, and my stepdad, who also was kind of that father figure in my life early on. Things were a struggle, but I had hardworking people, and that's all I really needed.
So, I mean, you've obviously mentioned it twice, and you know where I stand with our conversations and such. So, I mean, when it comes to the Lord, I mean, you've mentioned it twice already, you know, what would you say with your relationship with Christ? How much is that involved in what you do on a day in and day out basis? And
yeah, so, I mean, I've had so many different parts of my life. I grew up a Christian. There was a point in time where I kind of fell off, and I don't want to say fell off as in like, it was kind of, I just wanted to experience another side of like my mental, I guess. I don't know. So
for sure.
kind of branch off a little bit and try to figure out. I got really spiritual. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Which here's my thing about religion, which everybody can have their own religion. It's, to me, it's like it is what it is. But if you're not spiritual with being a Christian or spiritual with whatever religion you have, it's kind of like it's not useful.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you don't have a feel for something, right?
Yep.
How can you understand it?
Completely.
And I think it's more important to feel it first, at the very least,
Yeah.
before you get into it. And you see a lot of people that they're religious, and it's awesome, great, that's great vibes, it's awesome. I believe you should, but I would challenge you to get more spiritual because you need that spirituality into that, right?
Yep.
That connection to God, you need to be spiritual. I call it universe, God, everything. Those are my two, I believe.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to have that. And the stronger you are on the spiritual side, that belief is going to go up, and that belief is going to manifest. So you'll literally be able to manifest whatever you want in front of
100%.
you because you're allowing God or the universe to work with you instead of working against you. So I really got more spiritual I've always been a fairly spiritual kid because, again, I lived out in the country. But it really took off when I got to college. I was on my own. I didn't really have as many of your family's beliefs right away off the bat, which wasn't bad or anything. But you get to experience life.
Absolutely.
Because that's the most important. You got to be able to experience life on your own, and that was a big thing for me. I experienced a lot. So, I mean, I got probably even stronger with it probably the past couple months to a year.
Nice.
Probably the past couple months I've really got, because the thing is the deeper you get connected with God and the universe, the deeper you get connected with yourself. And the deeper you get connected with yourself, the more you understand yourself, you understand everybody.
100%.
Because we're all the same. We're all
Yeah,
the
makes
same. We got
sense.
our own things.
Yep.
Yeah. So the thing is, you got to understand somebody like me is constantly in my mind all the time, and not in a bad way. I'm analyzing, and I'm doing it in more of an observatory perspective because, again, when you're playing as many seasons as I'm playing, I'm 24 still playing, and this is going to keep going. You're doing the same things every year. So if you want to make changes, you have to start becoming aware of certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, you're just going to go, it's going to be insanity, right?
Yeah.
So, if as much as I have a big ego and all these things, right, I'm very good at shutting it down and reflecting.
Yeah.
So as much as I am very confident in myself and I'm very arrogant at times and I have all these whatevers, I'm very good at being like, okay, how can we get better? Because this is ultimately what's going to make myself and everybody else around me better. So I'll do that. I'll have reflection periods plenty of times. And that's where the growth goes, because it's very painful to look inward and try to figure out, well, you know the answers, but you got to go in those places that people don't want to go.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to do that.
Makes sense. So let's go back to the playing a little bit. Obviously, we want to bounce back and forth. So let's go back to, I know you were invited to the Super 60, which is something that a kid really, really strives for at the high school level, right? So a little bit about when you got that invite, what it's like, and, any Super 60 stories you
You know
have.
the cool part about that, man? When I was 15 years old, I remember watching, like, Cooper Johnson and all these guys. I was, like, 15. I think he's in the Rangers org right now. But he was, like, my favorite catcher. And he went to the Super 60, and that's actually kind of how I saw it originally.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I really want to go to this thing. Like, this is me, like, before anybody knew me. Like, I was, like, a freshman. Like, I'm like, man, if I could ever get in this thing, this would be the coolest thing I need to put in. I got connected with the right people. And because I got connected with the right people, I had Jordan Cairo, right?
Yep.
Was it Cairo?
Yeah.
I feel bad, sorry.
He's at Right. He's at Wright State right now.
Yeah,
He's actually. We talked about it the other day. I think there's a good chance he comes on to one of these. He's busy with his schedule right now. We're trying to get the date. But yeah, no, he's a great guy. Obviously.
Well, if you're listening, Jordan, we would love to have you. So let us know.
You're a big reason why I'm sitting right now, for sure. But he was a guy that believed in me early on. I remember doing like a quick showcase. We were up in what was it? It was like one of those JUCOs up north that they do the PBRs at in the indoor place. I forget what it's called, but we did one up there. That was the first time he saw me. It might have been my sophomore, junior year, because I put a lot of work in the dark and I didn't make the team.
Yeah.
And leading up to that, he was one of those guys that believed in me early on, and because of that got me more connected, got me more PBR invites. I of course had to do my job, to perform. But when you believe in yourself, and then people around you believe in you, it's like a superpower. You get more to it. So I mean, leading up to that, I got connected my senior year with Midland, and then sure enough, the reason why I got into Super 60, a big reason was I think there was two people. Jordan pushed for it, and then my boy Bart Hammond.
Yep.
Yeah, he was a guy that was like, because I was going to be on the Redskins that year, he goes, oh, you want to be in it? Easy. He just got me in. So I was like, oh, that's what it took. What? So, yeah, it was cool. But, like, I mean, dude, I had been up there. When I got up to Super 60, I mean, it was all the top prospects for the draft. It was, it was Jared.
Yep.
Sorry. Jared Kelnick, Alec Thomas. You know these names.
Yep.
Like, a bunch of these names. Drew Rom was up there with me. He was my boy. He's still my boy.
Well, Jared's slinging it now, too.
Bro,
So
he's slinging it, man. He's doing well. He was with the last org he was with the Cardinals. The last org I was with, or whatever. I don't know where he's at now. I think he still is, or maybe he got traded.
Yeah. So.
But
Yeah.
no,
And
that's
so-
kind of how it happened, though.
Nice. And then you decided to go to Wabash. Why Wabash?
So Wabash was so there was D1 schools that were definitely interested, but again, like I think it had to do with eligibility with grades. So like, if y'all would say anything, make sure if you do want to go D1, like get yourself together in that area. I honestly didn't care because I have just so much belief in myself that I was like, I'll just find a way to make this happen, and I just did. So it was like one of those things where it was like, I don't need school. I was like, I don't need school. I'll figure out school later. Like if like it's one of those things where it's like I want this, and I knew that JUCO would give me that opportunity to. I actually almost feel like I made JUCO cool because after I went to JUCO, everybody wanted to go to JUCO. They didn't like it before I went, and then when I went, and I don't know, maybe it wasn't me, but maybe it wasn't. But I just noticed that afterwards. But I went to Wabash because a few different things. I had Northwest Florida that was interested. Wabash was interested. I was going back and forth. Two great programs, and Fournier he took his time on me. He did a good job. He didn't rush me into any process. And when I made the decision to go there, it was, I mean, think about it, you got Northwest Florida where you're out the beach, everything, everything you want, probably all the distractions you want and need in the world. I'm sure it would have been fine down there. But I wanted to go to a place, which this is where I'm kind of psychotic, but I wanted to go to a place where I knew I wasn't going to have distractions because I didn't care about being at a JUCO and being there for 2 years. I was like, if I'm going to come here, I'm trying to get out of here right away. So I knew that if I had that opportunity to where I wasn't going to get distracted, I had so much, again, belief in myself that I was going to get out of there.
Yeah.
So whether that was making the connections, talking to the right people, saying the right things, doing my job, performing, and we had a beautiful team that year. I mean, it was the best team in the past 15 years of junior JUCO baseball. I think we have the best record still to this day or something. But countless D1 guys. I've been blessed enough to be on really good teams throughout my career. New Richmond with Lane, him and I kind of utilizing that to get for the draft and everything like that. And then going into Wabash, we had plenty of guys that were draft eligible, and all our sophomores, there was 11 D1 commits. So it wasn't just me that got me there. Being in the environment of having other people that are really good too is everything you need just as well, because you can't do this by yourself, right? You got to be on places and teams that are going to help you out too. That way you can help yourself perform. But he gave me the opportunity, and the thing is when I get opportunities, I don't miss them. And that's another reason why clutch situations for me have not been a tough thing, and they never will be. So
big thing. You mentioned your time at New Richmond. You mentioned your time on the 60 list. Tell us a little bit about that environment walking into that junior college. At Wabash, about the guys that were there, and then kind of the vibe that they had going on.
Well, when I declined the draft my senior year, so I got offered by the Braves in like one of the later or 14th, 15th round or whatever. I turned it down, and that was, for me, I was like, man, I don't, you're like, because you're a kid, you're like, man, like. That little doubt will sometimes creep in your head. I'm like, all right, well, you better make this happen again, So Fournier got me to come there. He's like, hey, like, we're going to see, they probably all tell everybody this, right? Like, oh, we're going to see if we can get you here for a year and get out. I don't think he expected me to come in, but I had a different mind,
Yeah.
But it was easier for me to come into JUCO with my resume that I had created in that senior year with being with the Redskins, and then kind of following in off to the draft as well. So I kind of already had that. Like, it was like, well, you're going to believe in yourself whether you like it or not. So when I came in there, the environment was awesome. We had a crazy amount of talented kids. I still have a lot of close friends that are there. Noah Myers, I think he's with the Rays now. He had gotten drafted that year. I mean, we had 5 draft picks the year that I was there, and maybe 2 or 3 of them were like freshmen. Antoine Kelly signed in the second round for over $1 million. Like, pitcher that was throwing lefty, throwing 100 mile an hour. So like I had the opportunity, and I was blessed to catch all these big talented arms, which made me look better and it made them look better, and it helped the cause. So the energy was great, man. We came in, it was hard.
You think with such high energy it caused you to
yes,
elevate your
it
game
definitely
as well?
Certainly elevated me. Yeah, that's why I said you can't do this by yourself, and you need other people and other like again Fournier. I mean, he's connected with everybody. He has all the connections.
Right.
So if he likes you and he messes with you, you're going to get those, right? If you're doing your part and things like that. So, yeah, I got really good at building a relationship with him. I learned how to build relationships with the team. That didn't really start happening really good till later on in my career, but it was a start. And, the environment was just very, like, imagine getting a bunch of 18-year-old kids and 19-year-old kids and putting them in an environment and being like, hey, like, we're doing good because we were talented, but, like, you got to keep us on track. You know what I'm saying?
Like
so
5 big picks on one team.
Dude, 5, yeah, man. But it's, again, like I said, if I didn't have that around me, it wouldn't have been, there wouldn't even be probably as much hype around me as well. So, again, like, I had to perform, but I had other people, and that's the point, is being in the environment that's going to amplify that as well.
So after you had that really good freshman year and now the draft comes again, what's going through your mind? And then obviously you ended up getting selected.
It was, so St. Louis reached out to me at the end of the season. I had the whole entire off season because there was a lot of pitchers going in and getting interviewed because you're getting all these interviews. They're doing all these tests on you. And they kind of did all this my senior year too. I filled out so many, like, those documents or whatever that they have.
Right.
So I did that. It was more in-person stuff where you're meeting these scouts, talking to them. They're literally interviewing you, and you're going and doing all these things on the computer. But, it was really cool. It was really cool, and being able to have that opportunity to see kind of how the ins and outs work within that, it also settled me down for the season because that's all I was doing the whole entire offseason. I was working. You're doing 7-hour practices. Right, because there ain't no rules in JUCO. If you go JUCO, ain't no rules in JUCO now. You gonna work whether you like it or not. I've seen people there; they get better already from the rip because, it's the environment. Now, if you're a psycho like me, I was like, all right, well, I know I'm gonna get better. I don't want to be here any longer, so I'm just gonna go completely. And baseball was a love for me; it was a passion. I built that up, so it was like, okay, well, this is gonna be easy. I don't have to focus. Like, school is gonna be easy. They're gonna make sure I'm gonna take care. Obviously, it was fine. I'm just going to go in here and just absolutely take care of business. And, again, that's what I did. So
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So you get drafted by the Cardinals, and then you go through that process. What was that like after the draft? And
I'm trying to think. They invited me out to a pre-draft at St. Louis. So it was very interesting because that was the one team that didn't do any sort of interviews with me or anything. They just came up in postseason. We were in postseason. I remember showing Fournier the email they sent me, and he's like, I don't remember what he said, but it had something to be the lines of, like, tell him to, like, F off. We're like in the middle of, like, a season. I'm like, I can't do that. So I was like, hey, like, you reach out. I'm like, listen, we're in postseason right now, but if it doesn't work out, be there right away. So it didn't end up working out, unfortunately. We didn't. We were like one game away of making it to the JUCO World Series and came short with Iowa Western, really good team. But it gave me another opportunity to kind of close the book and then negotiate with something else there. So I went into it. I had a really good. We didn't really do much in the pre-draft. We had BP. And we did bullpens. We didn't have infield, nothing. But they set it up. They didn't have that turtle around, so it just was home run derby style. Like,
there you go.
It was so cool. So I went in there. I think I blasted like 5 or 6 out in BP, and like I was like malnourished and 180 pounds. So that just tells you how the balls are and everything there, and how the stadium flies. So I had that. That was another big reason why the pick happened. They had video over me during the college season, and when you have 40 to plus scouts coming to the game because they're trying to watch Antoine Kelly. Of course, I'm going to get my looks. So, and then they're going to, pay him. So it's like it kind of worked itself out. But after I got drafted, it was 22nd round. That was the one. Yeah, the draft was so stressful. Oh my gosh. I think college might be one of the most stressful, but the draft during that time was so stressful because they had told me we're going to go day 2 with you. And I was like, okay, cool. So we're talking about some good money. And then they asked me in like the 5th round, they're like, do you want the money or the round? I'm like, well, if you're not offer, I'm definitely going for the money because it's an investment in me. So then I got picked later for the money that I would have gotten in that round and ended up working out. But leading up to it, dude, I was so stressed. Yeah. Like, I'm in the car thinking about how I'm going back to Wabash, and I'm like, mad. I'm mad. I'm like, I'm going to blah, 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 blah. My mom's in the car with me, and then I get picked, and like she has the video. And like, if you see the video, which I might have to post sometime soon, like you can tell, like, he's like, yeah, like, Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. Tell me all the ins and outs on the phone after they draft me, and like I'm like mad. I'm like, yeah, let me know. I'm like, and then of course, like when I settled down and I got back home, I started to enjoy it a lot more. But I was so in my mind where I was like mad. I'm like, what? But it was cool. It was cool. It was a good feeling, and leading into that, there was a part of me, I think, when it happened, I was putting so much emphasis on getting drafted that when it was done, I didn't know what to do next. And everybody knows what to do. It's like, oh, we're going to get to the big leagues. Well, there was a point in time where Zade didn't really believe in himself like that either, man. Yeah. I did all that to get there, and there was like an unworthiness in my head, so I had to figure that out later, which I did, but it was like, I mean, you're in a different world. You're with grown men. I show up to the complex, and Ryan Ludwig's there, and I used to watch this guy with the Reds growing up. I'm like, you're my hitting coach in the Gulf Coast League. It was wild. There was just a lot of different things.
I know you've answered this question 74,000 times, but I got to ask it anyway. So obviously, you played with one of the best defensive catchers of all time with Yachty, and obviously you were with him at complex and all this stuff. So, what was it like to be around him? I mean, did anything that you were able to take from him in your game that you added to your game, or did you guys not really communicate much? What was that like?
So I didn't really get to like for real get into like contact till later on in my career with the Cardinals. Like early on, it was like rookie ball, and they kind of like looked at me as a prospect. Like I would do the prospect stuff, but they didn't really rank me. And I think it's just because I didn't have a whole lot of like playing time within the org at that time. But later on in my career, when before I ended up going to the Braves, I got to be around him a lot. He would actually work with only the minor league guys. He wouldn't work with the big league guys, and the reason why he wouldn't work with the big league guys is because it's smart now, I realize it, but he knew that he wasn't going to make an impact on them the way he was going to make an impact on us.
Right.
So he would again, that's something I learned. You want to talk about something I learned? I learned more from how he moved more than I asked questions, because I didn't ask a crazy amount of questions. How I've learned in my whole entire life is by watching. That's why you see what you see in front of you even right now is, I've asked questions, but I never got so caught up in asking questions. I've been more of like, how can I create the character? How can I create the character? How can I create the character? If you create the character, you'll be able to actually become. So I was like, well, I need to just watch. So there was plenty of times where I was in the environment and I just would sit there and listen to him. I mean, the only time I think I really asked him a question for real was that picture that you guys have where you see where I'm sitting there. Right. And I was like, man, like, I don't know what you're trying to say. Because I didn't care, too. I was like, I'm going to get the answer. I'm not worried. I was like, man, I don't know what you're trying to say right now. Blah, 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 blah. And then he would come and explain it. But Yachty's a gangster, bro. He's awesome, bro. He's cool. He was a lot of – I learned more from his energy and watching him work than I did by asking him questions. And we would have fun and laugh and say and joke and blah, blah, blah. Because, like, that's what you do. It's baseball. But I learned more from just listening to him and him being there in the environment, because you learn in the environment more than you learn by asking questions. So be involved in the environment. How can you be the character, take things from different people, and before you know it, you'll be exactly where you need to be.
I guess my question to follow up on that is, was there a personality trait or something that Yachty that he did that you probably still carry to this day?
Yeah.
And you still practicing yourself? He
helped me not care as much. Because people care about too many things. They care about the wrong things. Everybody, there's like a list of things. Like there's like if you had like a bubble, there's like things that you should care about and they're like here. And then there's things that you shouldn't care about and they're here. And everybody's got it backwards. They care about the things that actually don't matter. And then there's the things that do matter. So he taught me how to care about the things that actually matter more than the things that don't matter. And a lot of that just has to do with your aura and your energy, bro. Like you are who you attract. So, if you pay attention to becoming the character and taking little pieces of whatever, now I don't have to worry about it as much, right?
Right.
And that's the implementation. That's another reason why I'm not huge about school, which is crazy. I know we're talking about that, but if you're gonna go to school, at least go and experience certain things, go do certain things, because you need to fail, you need to mess up, and you need to be okay with failing, because if you're not okay with failing, well, you're not gonna get better. You need to make failing kind of cool.
Right.
And that's kind of what I learned from Yachty and those guys there is they're professionals, and if they messed up, which they didn't do very much because they didn't care. They weren't so attached to messing up. You get so attached to messing up, there's this outcome. You're so worried about this outcome. It's well, just have a plan with no expectation. You know what I'm saying? Have a plan with no expectation. It'll probably go better than what you expected anyway. But everybody wants to have this plan, and then they have this expectation it has to be this way. It's dude, you're working against God and the universe. Allow things to kind of happen. And you want to know another thing that we talked about earlier, the reason why you see the high school kids and a lot of these kids getting into the position they are is because there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear, which is not created. It's created through a lot of coaches, a lot of coaching, and I've been there, bro. It's it's one of those things, right? Everybody's doing their best to help, and that's probably good for them anyway. They got to find a way to overcome that fear, right?
Right.
That's all it is. If you don't fear as much, things are just gonna fall in order. And there was a lot of times where I feared, but I would flip it. I'd be I wanted it so bad that I would calm myself down. Has anybody ever done that? You wanted something so bad that you just relaxed because you knew if you got any more energetic, it wouldn't help.
Yeah, I think, and this is off track, so I won't spend too much time.
No, we'll rip it.
With the veterans thing, like military mindset, there was a lot of times that I remember being in a stressful situation, and there's so much stress and so much chaos around you. And I mean, this relates to some of the things that I talk about with hitters and fielders.
It's all relatable, bro.
You got to be able to live in it, right? And the only way to live in it is to enjoy it, or to be able to control chaos rather than to become a part of it. Yep. When you become a part of it,
I was going to ask you a question. How much did that make an impact on you by just sitting in I don't want to say sitting in the pain, but you have to sit in it. How much did that impact you by doing that?
I think, embracing what things that suck, being able to see who you really are.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
It brings that authenticity, and I know you're a big authenticity guy.
Huge
Authenticity guy. And dude, sometimes you see guys run scared.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see guys just hunker down. Grit those feet, turn them into the dirt, and push back. And that we get to see that a lot of that in our game, and in our, and even in our program. You see which guys want to be a part of it, and which guys want to walk away.
100%.
You just get to find out who people really are.
Yeah, it's 100%. You have to be able to sit in the pain long enough in order, because you learn a lot about yourself. And what do they say? Growth is going to be in the pain. So you got to be able to stay in it. You got to be able to stay in it long enough, and then you'll kind of become resilient to it, and then it won't bother you. But then you'll learn a lot of lessons within that. And of course, hard times are going to create strong people,
100%.
right? And then it's going to make you just even better for you, your family, whoever else it is, right? Makes it more clarity, more sure. I think the more sure you are, guess what? You're not going to chase that curveball in the dirt, are you?
Yeah.
And this is all going back to certain things. That's why the mind is so important to work on more than sometimes the physical, because if you get the mind right, the byproduct will be the physical, as you know. I don't work on my body just to be like, oh, I want to be jacked. It's like, it's cool. It's a byproduct, but I do this because it feels good. Like, I feel really good. My head feels good. I feel clear. When I say something, I'm behind it.
Right.
When I say something, I'm behind it. If I don't do all these things, you're going to feel that subconsciously.
Yeah.
So the reason why my energy is powerful, and the reason why I say the certain things, because I do all the habits that make me really feel really good. And that's the key. That's the key to success in anything. And when I say something, people listen.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And it's because of all the things I do within that. It's not easy. Like, it's not easy to go meal prep. I got up early in the morning at 6 a.m. and I meal prepped all my food today. I eat 5 meals at least 5 meals a day. I do that every day. This is something I enjoy to do it. I found a love in just being able to get up. You want to know what? I love the process. I'm so obsessed with the process that I get the results. That's what it is. I don't care about, I'm not sitting here like, oh, like, I really need these results really bad. I just know that if I do the process and I fall in love with the process of doing it, it's over. Like cooking, I had to do that. Like, it's like people laugh. It's like, no, well, guess what? I can take care of all that on my own. I don't, whatever. The baseball, everything, the lifting. I fell in love with the process, and I fall in love with the process, and that's the reason why success turns over the way it does. Period.
So I hate to turn us in a different direction.
No, turn it wherever.
No, we're kind of on the same track when you talk about the process.
Yeah.
We're about development too. Mm-hmm. And then a big thing in development, you spoke about feel when we spoke about Christ. Mm-hmm. And I think all of us baseball guys are feel guys.
Of course.
100%.
Kind of have to be. This is a very feel-oriented sport, and like it's a lot of, obviously, like strategic, and like as you get older you understand, like it's like, especially as a coach, I'm sure you guys have a different brain when you played as you are now as a coach, and you're starting to see certain things.
Well, I'm obviously the worst player that's ever coached, right? So I mean, I was dreadful, but I loved the game. Yes. I loved studying the game. I can't do I can now. I do things better now than I did when I was 17, right? And I'm 40 and fat. You know what I mean?
But the thing is like now but that's the thing is, if you on the other end of things, that's what creates that, is by jumping on the other perspective, and that's kind of like what I'm seeing now, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing this baseball thing still, and I'm still gonna play. Trust me, you're still gonna see me for the next couple of years. I'm still playing.
Oh yeah.
But I enjoy
the uniform off.
Oh yeah, it ain't coming off. Yeah. And listen, if I have an opportunity to continue to keep playing, well, I'm gonna do it, man.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing too. I've had friends and people, and everybody's, it's their own prerogative. They want to quit. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But if you have the opportunity to keep doing it, guess what? Keep doing it, because the people that I have seen quit, or they are done, they don't look happy when I see them. When I see them in their eyes, like deep down, they don't look particularly the most happy. Now, if you're done and you're happy and you're doing your thing, by means. But if you have the opportunity, because there's other people that don't have the opportunity, that's another thing. As I continue to keep playing and people keep exiting, and I'm seeing people, whether it was college, right? When I played past, because I got drafted at 19, so I still have people in college playing. And then when everybody fell off and they didn't either A, get the opportunity, or B, they decided, then they fell off. Now I'm 24, and it's even a year or two later. Now people are deciding that they don't want to play anymore in baseball, and that's fine. It's your prerogative. But when I look at you in your eyes, you don't look like you're completely like bought in. The thing is, if you're gonna do it, make sure you buy into it. Yeah. I'm not completely bought in and being done. I got more in the tank. I got more things because I know that if I keep getting better, I keep learning. That's more information I'm gonna be able to give out. That's more because I know how to get you to understand things.
Oh yeah.
Because I was average and below average, bro. I wasn't some talented kid that had all these things at a young age. I really had to work for my talent. I had to work for my talent because I am talented.
Right.
I am very talented, but I had to work for my talent.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that's like nobody you don't really get people saying that too much, and that's what it is. It's like if you're passionate about something, you're going to be probably talented at it, but you got to work for that, right? And working isn't necessarily physically working, it's mentally working. I'm constantly working on my brain 24/7, which allows me to evolve. If I can evolve my brain, you don't think my swing's not going to evolve?
Yeah, right. No, you're 100%.
If I can see it from 50 different angles, you don't think when I get up to the plate I'm not going to be able my confidence as it grows, you don't think I'm not going to chase that pitch eventually? Exactly. All this matters, bro. The more you get sped up within a game, because baseball teaches you, as you know, it teaches you a lot about life.
Oh, yeah,
as you get sped up.
Direct reflection.
Yes, it's a direct reflection. So that's why you got to work on those mental things because you evolve the brain, you're going to evolve the swing, you're going to evolve the body. It's like salt and pepper. It's like you can't, if you don't have the feel, like I tell people all the time if I work with them in baseball, because I do, as you know, I do a bunch of different things. If you're going to talk about a mechanic with me, you better pair it with a feel.
Yeah.
Because I ain't talking about mechanics unless you pair it with a feel. Because how are you going to know the mechanic if you don't have a feel for it? Yeah, I got to get into this position, blah, blah, blah. Bro, you don't even know how to feel that. You got to pair it with a feel, right? So teaching people to pair things with feels, then you got it. It's fine. Now you can put it together, but it's like having a religion. If you're not spiritual and you try to have a religion, it ain't going to work. Like, you're not going to get it at the deep level. If you get this side, it's going to work the same way. It's the same.
Yeah, so the Christmas Classic last year you attended, I think it's a great thing that we do. Mm-hmm. And I dug when you put it together. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, I think a lot of the credit has to go to Frank Russo. Frankie's a dog.
Frankie is a dog.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously you've known Frankie a long time, as we all have. You know, Frankie's a dog. So Frankie works really hard on that, and then all I do is shoot some text if he needs. Hey, can we get to this guy? Yeah, I can text him. You know what I mean? So we try to pair up with the guys he knows, the guy I know, and we try to get the best group. But I mean, if you get the right 18 guys, dude, that's a fun night.
That's so fun, and we had the right 18 guys. We did, man. It was so fun, and it was competitive, and being able to see the young guys. You know what's funny is I like the, I don't want to say the arrogance, but I like the confidence. I like that because that's what's going to make you good at baseball. And people get so shy. That's another thing. People get so shied away from like the confidence and the arrogance thing. It's not bad to have that, man. It really isn't. It's only bad when you're doing it all the time in every certain situation, every scenario. And even then, I don't even think it's horrible.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't believe, that's you just believing in yourself, man. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean because, for instance, that I'm arrogant, that I don't care and don't want. No, I want you. If you're the right guy, I want everybody around me to be successful, dude. Like, I've never hated on a person because there's no need to. I want. Bro, these kids are raffling off better executors than me. You think I'm gonna? You sit there and cry, and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. This is cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, let's go. Like, I want that, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? That thing's gonna keep climbing. So it's like, what I really enjoyed the most about it was not even just that, but I enjoyed their energy, and they were also willing to learn and listen, even with that confidence. It was really cool. That was one of my favorite parts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the things I loved about it. So does that mean you're going to be back on the 23rd
yes,
of December?
I am, bro. Yeah,
okay.
I am.
So let's let Frankie know. Zade's the first guy in the Christmas Classic for December 23rd. Obviously, I mean, I saw you change information. I know I saw you exchange information with the majors. I saw you exchange information with Drake Sauber.
Yes, awesome.
Was there follow-ups there? I mean,
yeah. Sauber came out to a game, I want to say, and I sat out there and talked. I mean, it was a rain delay. I don't think they even got a chance to like watch me play, unfortunately. But I sat there and I talked to him. Had no issues with it. It was really good catching up with those guys. I really enjoy being a part of a lot of people's careers. I really like connecting with people.
Yeah.
I really like building relationships because that's been the cornerstone of my whole entire life. Like, it's gotten me in situations that I enjoy, but it's like very wholesome. Like, I enjoy, especially the younger guys. I really like seeing, and I work with softball girls and baseball guys, but I work with really everybody, I guess. But when I see the younger guys like that are motivated and they can be malleable and I enjoy it so much. So I do my part and I sit there and I build relationships and I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to dad and mom and dad and the kid and getting to know the kid and getting to understand why the kid thinks because I know that if I get to know you and I know you at your best, I know I can help you make adjustments.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about getting it right. It's about teaching yourself to get it right. Because if you teach yourself, it's over. You don't need me, and I don't want you to need me. I want you to want to come back to me to get more information.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want you to want that. And the thing is my whole entire life I've had to learn how to teach myself.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. So, I mean, obviously, you're not doing as much instruction, it looks like, following you on your social and stuff as you have in the past. You know, what are you up to right now? You know, obviously, you're playing, so you're busy in spring, summer, but, you know, what are you doing in the wintertime? You know, what are you up to right now?
So, I actually just started an online vision academy. It's called Zade's Online Vision Academy, and it's something I've been wanting to do for the longest time. And you know what? It took a lot of confidence and a lot of belief in myself to be able to do that, and I stress that. So, I started that, and I want to say the middle of October. I got a website for that as well, and what I do is I work with everybody, man. I work with people. Right now, I'm working with a guy that's 24, and he doesn't even play baseball. But I work with people that also play baseball, right?
Yeah.
The point is it's a lot of mentality stuff that you can extrapolate out to everything. So I don't even need to know what you do. I just need to change your habits, because one thing I've learned in my life is professionals in every category, they all have the same habits. I have friends that do different things. We're all professionals. We have the same habits, and they're super successful. I mean, one of my friends that I'm constantly on the phone with, he's not even doing baseball anymore, but he has 4 companies that he's running, pushing 1.5 a year, but he has the same habits, and that's what made him successful in that area. So it's like I work with everybody, all ages. I have people I've worked with that's older than me, and I change your habits. And information is valuable. It's super valuable, and that's if you're somebody that understands that information is valuable, you'll be able to change your environment. So I won't work with people that don't value information, and it's easy for that because you won't pay, or you won't be a part of it, and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But the people that do, they will, right? And that's fine with me, because I've been in positions in my life where I didn't have any money, and I paid $3,000 for a mentor, and then I still didn't have any money, but I valued that information because I believed in myself that I would figure it out with what I gave, that it ended up working out. So the problem with everybody out here is they don't believe in themselves enough, and there's people that do, and they have that hint, and I urge those people that really do believe in themselves to tap into that and to keep going and to keep believing, because I promise you, my whole life has been based off of believing. Yeah. I wouldn't be where I'm at today, playing in 2 big league organizations and 2 indie ball organizations, and still playing and still getting better every year if I didn't believe, right? And I didn't need everybody to believe in me. I just needed me to believe in me. Now, when everybody else starts believing, you have to believe in you first before everybody starts believing in you.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And you can't expect everybody to understand your vision. They're going to say you're crazy. They're going to say all these kind of things, and you just got to be willing. I mean, I had this with my pro career.
Yeah.
Everybody would, I mean, dude, I got made fun of in high school, my sophomore year, because people would call me Mr. Pop Time. So I actually sucked at throwing, and which is really the reason why I'm really good at doing it now. I can do it without looking. But I had to work at it because I sucked at it. I sucked at it, bro. I sucked at it, and I wanted to get so much better. So my sophomore year, I would warm up with before practice, and I would do like the transfers and whatever. I did everything and anything I could, and people would make fun of me all the time. And I didn't care. Like, sometimes I would care because I'm young. I'm sophomore, like 15 years old. But I just kept doing it, man. And you know what's funny is, look where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Look where I'm at now, and I'm still going, right? So it's like, because I continue to keep believing in myself, my body changed, my brain changed. I don't even look the same, bro. Every year I look differently. My face looks different. My body looks different. And it's so cool to be able to create that character, and everybody can do it. I'm not somebody that's special, bro. Everybody can do this. Like, and they don't realize that if they do it, you might even do it way better than me. And that's even dope. But that's the point, is somebody's got to take that step.
Yeah.
I believe it's me to show you, and you never know what you can get out of that. Not only do you not know, you're going to get some crazy stuff when you do. And everybody's got power, man. We got powers, man. Being able to manifest these things in front of you, you can do it, man.
Yeah, I think it's wild. You hit on habits. Doug gave me a book, I think, when I first started working with P413 and the entire organization. He gave me a book called Atomic Habits. You've probably read it, I'm sure. A lot of people know about it. Dude, it completely changed my perspective. It completely changed the way that I woke up in the morning, even. And, you said that you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those. And I'll be honest with you, 2 years ago, I wouldn't be right here if it wasn't for some of the, the things that I've done over that course of time to change.
It took you changing those habits, though.
Yeah, 100%.
It took you changing those habits and becoming aware of those habits. You want to find something funny here. Extrapolate that out to baseball. The person that makes the quickest adjustments is the one who wins.
Yeah.
The one who can make a pitch-by-pitch adjustment is the one who's going to win that at-bat.
Yeah, and even in rather small or big adjustments, right? Because,
Yes.
some of the small adjustments make the biggest difference.
They're the biggest. I think everybody focuses on too many big things when they need to focus on the small things that add up.
Yeah.
Like we talked about this earlier, but like It's the small little habits that everybody wants to overlook or whatever it is that are going to give you the results you're looking for at the end of the day.
Right.
Like it's the certain thing, like eating like these are obvious ones, right? Like eating a certain way or doing certain things. But there's even even journaling, bro. I journal. Like getting your thoughts out there. These are things that are going to keep you more sure of yourself, right? I have a baseball journal. I have a life journal. These things matter, bro. Like being able to get that out there. There's forms of meditation, bro. And the meditation doesn't mean you sit there and you do this, okay? That's not what it is. Visualization. What are you doing when you're on deck circle, bro? Are you visualizing? Because that's another reason why I've had big moments in my life happen, bro. You want to talk about the reason why the draft happened? I'll tell you a quick story. We were in Evansville fall, right? We're playing fall ball my freshman year. Playing against Evansville because JUCOs will go out there and you'll play a lot of D1s, right? And we had that kind of team that could do that. Well, leading up to this week, we had this guy. I don't remember his name or who he is or even where he's at right now, but he was going to be this big prospect. Like he was throwing 100 to 101, like consistently in the fall. Had a bunch of teams that were on him. Like we did too, of course, but we were like that was what we were up against. We had a week out. Now everybody, they were like, oh, we're gonna strike out, blah blah blah. I played the game with them because I wasn't gonna be, It's like, oh yeah. And then every night I go to my room and I would just I'd lay in my bed and I'd look up and I'd just visualize me seeing this guy and hitting a home run off him. I'm like, I'm gonna get this guy. Just a week of doing this, bro. Like intentionally going in there, energy. And sure enough, we get there. It's a cold day, Evansville. Maybe 60 scouts in the stands, bro.
Wow.
60 scouts because it wasn't just him that they were looking for. That was also a big name. They had other guys there too, and people might have known who I was a little bit, but it wasn't until this moment to where they really knew who I was.
Right.
And I remember getting up there, people kind of got shut down a little bit, whatever. Strike out. I ended up getting up there. I was hitting sixth. He threw the first pitch to me. It's like 90-91. I was like, oh, it's not as hard as what they were saying. Kind of had a little bit of cut. Did it again. It was ball 2. All right, I got this guy.
Right.
Yeah, he threw me another one. It was like 91. I fouled off. I'm like, yeah, I'm on this guy. 2-1. He throws the fastball over my head, and it was probably every bit of 101.
Wow.
I mean, I was like, oh, that's your fastball. So then I'm like, okay, it's a 3-1 count. I was like, okay, I need to slow everything down. And one thing I'm really good at doing is I could slow everything down. Like, I'm going to slow everything down. It became... You know what it was? I was in the present moment so much that everything took 8 seconds to get to me. And no one's really in the present moment. They think they're in the present moment. When you're in the present moment, everything is like slow motion. You can see almost like the particles. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So I slowed myself down so intensely. He left like one that was like 101 or 102 up over the plate, high pitch. I got my hands on top of it. All I remember seeing as a black ball is slow motion, 450 feet, went over the net, and my draft stock went up just because of that day. Yeah. And then I ended up getting another hit because momentum plays. And it was just like, in my head, I was like, man, I manifested that. I literally manifested that because all I did for that week was literally say and visualize in my head intently what was going to happen. It happened. I did that this year with my Grand Slam in the beginning of the year. I literally, 2 days, because I knew that we were going to play Quebec, and I played at Quebec. They had traded me. They didn't want me, which, whatever, right? But at the same time, you still have that in the back of your head. You're like, okay, bet. So I would go on these walks. I still do it now. This is how I manifest stuff now. I'll go on these walks and I daydream. That's another reason why too. I'm always have highlights in my head and I'm pairing it and I'm like off in another place. I'm not even here. Well, I did that for like 2 days leading up to that day. Sure enough, guess what? God puts that opportunity in front of my hands. My first AB, I get into 2 strikes. He leaves the slider, and before that slider, he threw that pitch. I did the same exact thing that I did in Evansville. It slowed down, bro. It felt like the ball took 8 seconds to get there. Dude's 6'4", 6'5", throwing 95, wipeout slider. That was the difference between me even seeing the pitch the way I wanted to see the pitch. Yeah. Was just off of me slowing the moment down way before it happened because I visualized it. And I ended up hitting a grand slam to put us up winning that game, and I think that series, I had like 11 RBIs. It was, you couldn't get me.
Yeah,
you couldn't get me.
One of my favorite thing is like your mindset of you're going to exist it. You're going to will it to happen, yes, right? Bro. So, as far as that goes with a young kid, let's say freshman, sophomore, junior, that it isn't coming out the way he thought. He wants a little more. What would your advice be to them?
I would ask him the question of what does he actually want? I would ask him the question, what does he actually want? Because he can make it happen. And you know what gets in the way? Yourself. And usually your opinions about other people. So the more now that I learned, right, like this is just older Zade talking to younger Zade and all the younger guys now, the less you care about what everybody actually thinks, the more these things are going to actually happen. Because that's the reason why everything happened for me. I had people make fun of me my whole entire life about all these things, man. I just decided not to. I knew what I wanted, and I would still go and I would be behind it. I'd be behind it, but I would still, whatever. But I went in and did it anyway. I would do the things that I knew I needed to do anyway. I'd follow my intuition. There's feel, and I would follow that feel. It could be God, right? Whatever. But I would follow that, and I didn't really. I knew subconsciously and consciously enough that like they didn't have the results I wanted anyway, so why would I listen to them? Mm-hmm. So even though I was in a place where I didn't have all the information, I just created everything for myself. So I was watching videos, I was doing so many things. Like, it's you in the way of you. So I would say, ask yourself, do you really want it? And maybe you don't, and that's okay. Maybe you don't, but usually you do. And it's usually the fact that you're in the way of you, and that you have opinions about other kids or other coaches, or what it could be your family, whatever. Hopefully you don't have to fight with your family about that stuff. I didn't really have to growing up as much, for real. So that was another thing that helped me, is my mom was just kind of there to
there's a lot of families definitely that are supportive. So if you were going to map out this is kind of a loaded question, right? If you're not prepared for it, you're ready, right?
I'm ready.
If you were going to map out a Monday to Sunday for a sophomore in high school who wants to be good, right? He wants to get to the levels you got. What would that schedule look like for him outside of obviously school?
I would say do a lot. I would say go swing a bat every single day as long as you want to, because when I was that age, I wanted to. That's why I said before we jump back on, I was like, how do you beat somebody like AJ and I?
No,
it's hard to beat somebody that we enjoy being here. This isn't work to us. So I literally enjoyed going and doing this every day. Like, this has been my whole entire life. It's been my whole entire life. I enjoyed the process, and I enjoyed going and doing these things, and I understood that the more that I did it and I overdid it, the more I would learn more about myself. Because you're 14, 15 years old, you're still growing, man. You're still growing. It goes for the softball girls too. You're still growing. You got all these years to experiment, and the more you're going to do that is by taking a lot of swings to figure out your body, right? People have to be willing to go. You have to, like, this is another thing. I've been willing to go one direction, realize that it's the dead end, and then be willing to turn around and go the other one. But you got to believe in yourself enough to do that. Now, of course, if you got a guy like me that I've messed up, and I've done all the mess ups, I can direct you, of course. But I would say get in there and swing a bat 5 times, 6 times, 7 times a week, and enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, well, then there you go. That's you didn't want it really that much, right? Yeah. And that's okay. Find something else, right? I'm not about it, but at the end of the day, I enjoyed going in there every day. And I actually lifted a little bit later than everybody else. Like, I didn't start really working out for real until I was like maybe 15, 16. So, I mean, if I had to go back now, I would definitely be eating a lot better. I would definitely be eating a lot whole foods. You don't have to make it complicated. Do I know about macros and how everything works? As you know, yes, I know how it all works, but I keep things simple. Because you have to keep things simple. So I would have, my food would have definitely been better, and that would have been really it. I did everything else really good. I was pretty, like, on point with everything. I didn't really worry about, like, girls or anything like that, or worry about dating or anything. And I just kind of just was doing my thing, and I really enjoyed it. So, I mean, if I had to tell a sophomore, I'd say go swing the bat. If you want it, go swing it as much as you want, as long. Bro, I would get off the bus when I was, around that age, because I didn't have a car until I was 18. I didn't have my license until I was 18. I would get my grandma would, so I stayed with my grandma, and she would take care of me, and I'd take care of her. She would drop me off at Champions Academy, baseball academy down in Cincy, because it was 10 minutes up the street. I would get dropped off every single day there, and I would stay from the time I got off bus all the way until 10 o'clock. I'd be helping people out with lessons, coaches, things like that. Help me build relationships. Help me, like, learn how to talk to people. Help me learn how just environments. And I would do that for hours. I'd hit off the tee for hours. Because I didn't have nobody to flip me, right? And if I did, it would be awesome. But I just went up there, and I wanted to be in the environment. We talked about environment before, but I wanted to be in the environment. The environment's what's going to mold you. And you hear it all the time, man. If you're around 5 people that are doing what you want to be doing, or even if you're they're not there, something's gonna turn. Yeah. Something's gonna turn. So I wanted to be in the environment. So I did that, and I've always done that. And if I want to know information, you know where I go? To the environment. Yeah. And I still do that because I'm still learning. I don't know everything. I'm still learning now. So how I do that is I just, like, for instance, like T.J. Reeves, like one of my boys. We played with the Midland Redskins this year. He had a crazy great year. He had 17 or 18 homers, like, I think nearly hit 300 as well. Wow. Like, but I could have been very egotistical and been like, oh, like, he's hitting better than me. I'm not going to go talk. No. We sat in the car. He's my boy. And I was like, you know what? I can learn some stuff from him. He would help me out, and I would help him out. And the thing is you just got to be willing, like, if you have the ego, which we all do, just be willing to put it away and utilize everything as a tool, because you need it to be good. If you don't believe that you're going to get this guy on the mound, well, you're not going to get him. Right. He's going to get you. And I'll tell you this, at a high level, the higher up you go in this world and anything you do, if you don't have that kind of belief, well, guess what? You're going to be down where you are. So, yes, you got to be a little bit egotistical. You got to be a little bit arrogant. You just got to learn how to control it. And you ain't going to know how to control it if you don't dive into it.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think that's actually really important, is understanding that no matter what situation, who we are, where we've been, what we've won, what we've done, you have to remain a student to everything.
Every time.
Absolutely.
Learn.
Every time. I'm constantly doing it.
Well, man, it's like I said, you always energize me when we're on the show. So I want to thank you so much for coming on, and obviously now I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Christmas class. We're trying to get higher than 14th.
I got to get
on the exit velocity board.
If you guys check this out down here, there's 20 and I'm sitting at the 14th level. These high school kids are whooping me. I got to come back a little bit more prepared.
No,
it's fun though. It's fun.
It's going to be a blast, and we can't wait to have you. And we want to thank everybody for another great week, and we cannot wait to catch you next week. You guys good?
Dude, that was fun.
That was fun.
It's America's favorite pastime. Come on, let's have a good time. Slinging seeds. Yeah, we're just slinging seeds.